How's it going, everybody? Adrian Simple here from the Gaming Observer, and welcome back to your daily news update for Monday, July 20th. I hope you had a tremendous weekend. Let's go ahead and kick off the new week with some video games. We'll start today talking business, because the NPD has released their data for the month of June, yielding some interesting points here. First of all, pandemic spending on video games is still extraordinarily high. Tracked spending on software is up 49% year over year. That's the highest for a June month since 2010. And you'll find similar statements about the previous months as well. Hardware, on the other hand, is actually down 17%, but that's honestly to be expected. Console sales were down very consistently before the pandemic, and then once it started, obviously a bunch of people started buying consoles. And now people have already bought the consoles, and a new generation of them is on the horizon. Now, here's the real fun bit in terms of game sales. The Last of Us Part 2 was June's best-selling game, and it just instantly became the third best-selling game of 2020, behind Call of Duty and Animal Crossing. In dollar values, though, it actually had a better launch month than those two games. And it was the second best launch in Sony's history, only beat out by Spider-Man. So huge performance for that game, perhaps as expected, but also by the end of the year, it's going to be in a very good spot. Also on the June charts at number 7 was Ring Fit Adventure, which is just constantly appearing and disappearing as stock becomes provided and gets sold. It's a very popular game for the Switch, and Nintendo just can't make it fast enough to meet demand. And finally, at number 18 was Persona 4 Golden, following its appearance on Steam. And I just want to add the caveat here that NPD is a US-based group, so all these numbers are based out of the United States, and there are some notable exceptions when it comes to this data. For example, Nintendo does not share its digital sales, which means that Animal Crossing is actually probably much higher than it's actually placed. Nonetheless, moving on. Paradox Interactive has officially acquired Iceflake Studios, who are the developers of the game Surviving the Aftermath, but not its predecessor Surviving Mars. That was made by a different studio. This actually makes Iceflake the 9th developer underneath Paradox, which is both acquisitions and self-created locations. That is about all there is to say, though. Surviving the Aftermath is currently in early access if you would like to check it out. It's also on the Epic Game Store and Xbox Game Preview. It is a survival strategy game about an apocalypse. Just wanted to give you a little update here regarding the Worms franchise. First of all, Worms Armageddon, one of the original games, just got a new update, which basically just gives it a refresh and modernizes it a bit. The biggest thing being that they now have the option to use CPUs in online matches, so that you can team up with your friends in a multiplayer game, and not need to, matchmake with somebody else. There's also some fun quality of life stuff, like being able to save a map after it's been destroyed, and then use that as a place to start. Anyway, besides that, they are also currently in a closed beta for the game Worms Rumble, which is their latest entry, taking the game to real-time combat. Shout out to Team 17's Nottingham team for getting me access to the game. I'm having a great time with it so far. And there isn't much in the game right now, so there's not much to say, but I can definitely see the potential there and how the game can expand. It's very exciting. You might remember the game Paragon from 4 years ago. This was a MOBA that Epic Games tried to bring to life, and then it ended up just getting overshadowed by Fortnite and eventually shutting down. However, when the game closed, Epic released all of its assets for free use on Unreal Engine. Paragon definitely had a dedicated community, and now that is being cropped up with an attempted spiritual successor of the game. This time around, it's being called Fault. It is currently available in early access, though based on the reviews, it looks like they have some things to work out before it's probably worth paying money for. Which is to say, it is very much an early access game, it's in alpha, so unless you are a hardcore Paragon fan, it might not be worth it. Nonetheless, it's there, and I think it's pretty cool that they were able to make something happen. Especially when it had such a strong community, Once again, the game is called Fault. Keep an eye on it if you want, because it will be free to play at some point. At least that's the developer's intent. Alright folks, that is all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And also thanks to Mr. J. Rodwell for leaving me a 5-star review. That really helps out the show a lot. My friends, I'll be back tomorrow with the news, and until then, happy gaming everyone. Yo, it's the TGO After-Show. So here's today's topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about modding video games. And my history with modding video games, I suppose. I really love the Steam Workshop because it makes modding games really easy. You just click a button and then it enters your game. It's wonderful. I love it. I know there isn't too much you can do with the Steam Workshop, but it does just enough to be like, like when I was playing XCOM 2, like I needed the mods. It fundamentally changed how I played the game in a really good way. However, on the flip side of that, not everything has a Steam Workshop. At the time that I tried to mod Skyrim the first time, I believe it did not have a Steam Workshop at that point. And nonetheless, I don't think the biggest Skyrim mods are even on there. Anyway, when I first tried to mod Skyrim, I think that's the first time I really did try to mod a game. And that would have been like 6 years ago or something. I was in high school. It might have been when I first got my laptop, which would have been, 6 or 7 years ago. Anyway, with Skyrim, it just didn't work out. I did all the research, I followed all the tutorials, I was patient, and it seemed like no matter what, I couldn't get the game to run the mods I wanted it to run. Or if I did, the game just stuttered to a 1 frame per second. It wasn't great. I ended up getting really frustrated and kind of just giving up. I played regular Skyrim. I said screw it. I did it again a few years ago when I tried to play the first Witcher game. And this was before, I recently read all of the books. This was before the books. This was really before I knew anything about The Witcher. I just kind of, I heard good things about 3 and 2 for that matter. And I was like, hey, let's just start from the beginning. Let's try and play the first Witcher game. And what I read online is basically, you can play the game vanilla, but your experience will be much better if you try to do it with mods. So I got the game, picked up the mods, and once again, I paid really good attention. I followed all the guides. I did everything they told me to do. And for whatever reason, I was able to launch the game, but I couldn't move Geralt. He just didn't move. It didn't matter what button I pressed. I think my only option was Alt F4. So again, I gave up. I got frustrated. I think my only success story with modding is probably the Steam Workshop. Or actually, you know what? The Binding of Isaac Rebirth had a really strong modding community that wasn't on the Workshop. And, back when I played that game a whole bunch, that was a great way to keep it fresh. So anyway, today, I decided it is time to enter into the Witcher 3 journey. And actually, I've played the game before. I've actually sunk quite a bit of time into the game. I just never enough to say that I've gotten near the end or even near the middle. And so what I did was I was like, okay, let's mod it this time and include some of the quality of life things that I didn't like. And if I see anything else on the workshop or on the Nexus mod website, because I'm playing through GOG, then I'll add it on there. Well, this time I didn't even go all that crazy. I just chose a few quality of life things. Again, followed all the guides, looked at all the FAQs, feel like I did the right thing. And it still just wasn't working out the way I wanted it to. So I've done a fresh install of the game, and I'm pretty sure I know what I did wrong this time. I guess there's 2 methods of modding The Witcher 3, so I chose one method the first time. I'm going to try the second method this time. We'll see how it goes. And hopefully I'll have a success story for you by tomorrow or the day after. Wish me luck. Anyway, folks, why don't you go ahead and share with me your most complicated modding experience? It's not going to be a mailbag or anything, I'm just curious. And until next time, farewell.